Hi, welcome to this episode of Your Black World News. I'm your host, Roosevelt Mitchell III. And today we are talking a brother named James Allen Dasher, who has been in prison for 34 years for what his family believes to be falsely accused of rape. And they have the evidence to prove it. But today I'm joined by his cousin, actually, Mr. Rick Brown. How's it going today, Rick?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. First off, thank you so much for taking time to speak with me. And I want you to tell our audience real briefly about your cousin James Allen Dasher's case.
Well, I guess I can start by saying that he was arrested on a sexual battery, robbery, and burglary case, where a young lady had been molested. Her house had been burglarized, and a small amount of money had been taken. In the course of his arrest, the victim stated the night of the crime that she thought she knew who the person was that committed the crime against her. And that
she said that it was somebody named Willie. Right, his name was Willie, not James Allen Dasher, right? I mean, I read that. Right, his name was Willie, and she didn't identify James. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right. And she also pointed out places in the room that this person had touched. A hamper coming into the residence through a window, a clothes hamper, her purse where her purse had been dumped out, searching for money or whatever valuables, TV where the person turned the TV off and put fingerprints on the TV, a dresser where the person searched for other valuables like jewelry or whatever have you. She pointed these things out to the investigating officers, and the fingerprint person. And after taking fingerprints, none of those fingerprints belonged to the victim, anyone that lived in the home, or James Dasher. But there was no investigation as to who Willie might be and the person, whether or not those fingerprints matched this person, Willie, that the family knew. There was a rape kit taken the night of the crime, and the rape kit analysis was testified to in court by a professional forensic person, and with no attachment to James Dasher from that analysis, though it was a positive for the presence of ejaculation and the fact that sexual intercourse had taken place. There was no match from that analysis where James Dasher was concerned. But also there was no attempt to match that analysis with this person named Willie that the family knew. He was convicted of the 3 crimes. He was sentenced to life imprisonment for each of the 3 crimes, 3 life sentences. And
what was the 3 crimes?
Armed robbery, armed burglary, and armed sexual battery.
And he received 3 life sentences?
And he received 3 life sentences, of which he has served 34 years at this time.
Wow. And I read that there were false confessions and admissions, and it looked like it was a lot of legal misconduct as far as prosecution admitted to having contact with jurors during recess, and jurors falling asleep during portions of the trial. So you can't be coherent and pay attention if you fall asleep during the trial.
Exactly.
And, I mean, like you mentioned, unvalidated and improper forensic science, inconsistencies heavily ignored. But as I read about most of these cases, a lot has to do with, I don't know, were you all able to get him a paid lawyer, or was it a public defender?
A public defender.
Yeah, because see, I've seen many cases where public defenders was get people sent to prison when all the evidence was laying out on the table. Like in this case, I was reading. I mean, I'm no lawyer, but I was reading about all of these things about the eyewitness misidentification, testimony misidentification, and also inadequate defense. Like evidence was suppressed.
Quite a lot. There was quite a lot that went on in the case that were improprieties. That you would really have to be able to read the transcript to actually see all of the things that went on that were egregious, to say the least. In the whole process of the case, from the initial arrest warrant. I don't see how it is that a judge can issue an arrest warrant on fingerprints that don't match, on a rape analysis that don't match, on a victim saying that this person was named Willie, and you have a guy you're attempting to issue an arrest warrant on by the name of James Allen Dasher. There's no Willie in his name. And this family knew who Willie was, but there was no investigation as to who Willie was. How can, in the first instance, a judge issue a warrant for that person's arrest? And then from issuing that warrant and the arrest being made, how can you challenge a person in court, when you have the victim on the stand admitting that she initially said that it was a person she knew named Willie. Her and her husband knew by the name of Willie. And then there's no effort to establish who this person is, or if these anonymous fingerprints and forensic evidence, is whether or not it matches this person. But you go through a full trial with the effort to convict an individual that none of this information matches.
Right. And we both can agree that rape is a serious crime, and we hope that justice is served. So have you ever tried to, right? So have you ever tried to appeal?
Yes, he has. But again, through this public defense, he had an appeal, and each time that he's appealed, it's been denied and it's been set aside. Each time he's had a parole hearing, it's been denied. In the last hearing that the family and I visited, it was just unreal the way that it went. There was two white ladies and one black guy on the parole panel. And there was a person from the prosecution following this case for 30 years that got up and spoke about his not being released and made statements into the record. And the black guy challenged those statements, saying that this is not a part of the record. We don't have what you're saying here. And, we can't rely on that. And at that point, the other two ladies basically shut down his ability to challenge that and voted that his release release date would remain at 2026. His tentative release date would remain at 2026.
He's been denied for an appeal. He's been denied for parole. So what is the family doing now, or what is James Allen Dasher doing now
at this time,
in regards to trying to get out?
At this time, we have made efforts to put his case before the Innocence Clinic at the University of Miami, and we're still waiting for a response from the Innocence Clinic at the University of Miami, and in hopes that they will take the case and take a firm look at what is going on in this case. But not only in this case, there are several cases that took place around that same time frame in the Miami-Dade County area, with the same kind of improprieties, the same kind of abuse of the judicial system. There was another young man there, Jimmy Lee Melvin. He spent 34 years before he passed in prison. He actually died in prison. And the young lady that initially accused him tried to recant and explain to the prosecution what really happened in that situation, and that it wasn't a rape. And she was not allowed to. And he served 34 years before he died. Michael Swain has also served, I think it's about 40 years now, for a case that has some serious questionable situations going on in that case. These are just a few of the situations that have gone on, in that area that needs to be looked at. It's not just about the James Dasher. That's my family, and he's the person that, we're working for and trying to, create some public awareness about. But at the same time, there are other situations that have taken place, and people have built careers on these guys' back. People have grown to the point of having pensions and retirements and so forth as a result of these guys' suffrage. So it's something sinister going on that really needs to be looked at in whatever fashion we can establish.
When you speak about people building careers, are you talking about prosecutors and judges, or
prosecutors, judges, police officers? I mean, a number of public officials, involved with these type situations, have gone on to live their lives, and in productive ways, paid by the public to do so, and in the course, many black men have suffered, black and Hispanic, many black and Hispanic men have suffered, as a result of these type actions going unchallenged.
But I would like to give you the last word, and I would like for you to tell people how they can show their support for James Allen Dasher. Maybe you have a website or email address or anything like that, to where maybe they can reach out to you or another family member or anyone else. Or even if there's some prosecuting attorneys or lawyers or defense attorneys, anybody out there listening, maybe they can offer some advice, So, I would like for you to list those things.
Well, you can find a Facebook page, James Allen Dasher, at Facebook. You can also go to the James Allen Dasher website, JamesAllenDasher.com, and take a look at the transcripts. You can look at different information that's available if you are a legal representative or another entity that is interested in seeking out some of the information that's posted on the site in terms of how you may be able to further get help in a situation where you may have a family member that's affected by the same type of situation. Where the website is not just about James Dasher, but it's about false convictions, false allegations. It's about, malicious prosecution. It's about things that have affected a lot of people's lives, not just the people incarcerated, but their families as well. And we're trying to set this site up so that it can be accessed for the public, both in efforts to aid James Dasher, but as well in efforts to aid others likewise affected.
Thank you so much, brother. And I hope you all enjoyed this segment of Your Black World News. And if you cannot get a hold of Mr. Rick Brown and his family, just leave a comment in the section below, and I will forward it over to the family. So thanks again, and until next time, my friends, be blessed and be encouraged.